A walk through the forest. You're in a forest, walking along a path through the forest. Imagine what you can see and how you feel. Is it a thick, dark forest with trees close together, for example? Or is it a light forest with trees spread widely apart? Now, what about the trees? Are the trees clearly separate from one another? Or are they growing in groups? Are they short or tall? Have they got lots of leaves or fruit? Or are they bare? Are you attracted to any one tree in particular? If so, describe it. You continue down the path through the forest. And suddenly you come across a bear. Think about this bear. What's it like? What color is it? Is it large or small? Is it dangerous? Perhaps a grizzly bear? Or is it friendly? Do you feel afraid? Do you face the bear? Or do you stay away? Carrying on along the path, the next thing you see is a piece of pottery on the ground. What is it? A jug or a vase maybe? Or a bowl? Think carefully about the shape and the design. Is it plain? Or has it got a pattern on it? Is it whole? Or is it cracked or broken? Do you pick it up and take it with you? Or do you leave it where it is? You continue on your way again. And the last thing you see is a key on the ground. What's this key like? Is it new and shiny? Or is it old and rusty? How big is it? Again, do you pick it up or leave it lying there?
Sort of analysis from a little trip. If you just tuned in, you would have missed the beginning of the programme where we took everybody through a little journey through a forest and asked them to pick up particular items and look at certain things. Now we're just analysing what they've written, and I'm trying to work out a bit about their personality, and so far it's been pretty accurate, actually. Chris is calling us from Nailsea. We'll go to him in just a second, but first we'll take a quick break.
Easy listening through the day. Stereo radio.
Right, let's whiz through yours. What was your forest like?
Very light and airy.
Yeah.
With puddles of light. It's quite mossy and sort of soft sort of feeling to it.
Right. And fairly friendly?
Yeah, very friendly.
So you felt quite happy about it?
Yeah, very friendly about it, yeah.
All right, so basically you have a fairly happy attitude to life at the moment. You're reasonably content. You've got... If things are likely to go wrong for you, you've made plans so that you've got things to fall back on.
Yep.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So... yeah, relatively happy.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, what I'll do, while we're going through yours, I think I'll go through the whole lot and just give a few other variations for people. That'll make life a bit easier, and we can spend a bit more time on yours as well then.
Okay.
Just to explain, so everyone else can tick off theirs as well, the forest is basically, and the way you see this forest, is looking at how you're generally looking at life at the moment, and your general aspect, and your general feeling about life. It's a look inside at how you are looking at the world outside. So if you had a very dark, dank forest, it means that you're pretty unhappy with life generally at the moment. That forest represents your life at the moment. If you had a nice, bright, sunny one, then obviously you're fairly content and happy. And certain little things in that forest can give little clues to me about other areas to do with your life. And if you look closely at what you've written, they'll probably give you clues as well. On to the trees themselves then, Chris. Again, were you attracted to any in particular, or all of them, or none of them, or what?
They were generally fairly similar. Large, massive trees with plenty of low-lying branches.
Right.
Sort of
And
typical, like English woodland, almost like.
And quite a lot of them?
Yeah, quite a few, but they're also in groups, right? Little circles, glades. Like.
Do you have, you, I would say, like to have fairly close friends then, as opposed to acquaintances, and you probably have several groups of them who are fairly close to you, and they're the sort of friends that are very close, very reliable. If you need them at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know you can pick up the phone and they'll be there. And those are the sort of friends...
That has happened.
Right, those are the sort of friends you would attract and would like around you and have around you.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, the trees tend to represent our attitude to friends and the sort of people we have. If in your list you put down that you had a lot of trees and there were lots of trees and they're very sort of sparsely sort of laid out, it means you have a lot of acquaintances rather than a lot of close friends. If you have a group of trees together, it means you probably have a group of close friends that you get on with particularly well. On to the bear now. What sort of bear did you have?
It's a grizzly.
Right.
But it wasn't interested in me.
It wasn't interested in you. Were you interested in it?
To a degree, but we sort of shunned one another.
Right. And so did it, like, sort of notice you at all, or did it just sort of...
Yeah, sort of. It just sort of passing by, sort of in the distance, and I was going virtually in the opposite direction.
Was it in looking particularly aggressive or not?
No, not really.
So, would I be fair in saying that you are not a terribly aggressive person, but again, you could be if you were pushed...
Yeah, it takes a lot of real... It really does. I can count the number of times I got really aggressive in my life.
Right.
On the fingers of one hand.
Okay. The bear, you see, basically, Chris, is representing your aggression and your attitude to aggression and violence. If you had, as you did, a grizzly bear, it normally means that it's something you tend to steer away from, because you're a bit frightened by it and you don't like it.
I'll talk my way out of a problem rather than get aggressive.
Which is maybe why this bear didn't take too much notice of you and you didn't take much notice of it. If you were confronted, other people, if they had a bear that they confronted and was about to attack them, then it means that they wouldn't tend to walk away. They would tend to face up to the bear and fight it out. So they would face up to someone aggressively and fight it out. People who pick things like teddy bears or polar bears tend to be very passive, very non-violent, very non-aggressive. So if you had a nice cuddly little bear or little cub, then it's more likely that you're a non-aggressive person. What about the piece of pottery?
Yeah, it's not. I first of all, I thought of an old Roman vase, but not whole. It was sort of broken or misshapen, and I just could not make up my mind as to whether to leave or take it.
Have you been through a couple of, like, fairly hurtful relationships in the past? I mean, most of us have at some time or another. But, like, the scars of them are maybe still with you a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, because, again, the piece of pottery is representing our emotions and the sort of emotional state we're in. Now, if you had a big, deep pot, it would mean you have a lot of love, a lot of emotion. You like lots of emotion. You like lots of love. The smaller and the thinner the pot... the more you would keep in your emotion and you would ick it out in little bits. And the more plain it is, the more plain the pot is, the more down-to-earth you are about emotion. The more fancy it is, the more romantic you are. So it's a mixture of all these things. And if it's got a crack in it or it's broken, then it probably means you've been through a bit tough time emotionally, maybe recently or in the past. And the scars of that are still with you a bit. So that kind of explains that what the piece of pottery was about. What about the key?
It was an old key. Basically, sort of one that would open a door of a large house.
Right.
It was about 5-6 inches long, heavy-ish.
And did you pick it up, or did you leave it?
I kept it.
Okay. You have an interest, I would say, in the past. You have an interest in slightly mystical things. You have a very vivid imagination. And you enjoy using that.
Yeah.
Yeah? Would that be right?
I do.
Okay. And maybe you're fairly practical, but I think maybe you have to be practical for your job, but maybe at home you're not so practical.
Very sure. definite.
Yeah, right. I just picked that up.
On the nail on the head.
Okay, right. The key represents really about how practical we are. And if you had a brand new sort of door key, it means you're a very down-to-earth, practical, sort of no-nonsense person, not too much on the imagination. You like things around you that are just there for practical purposes. That's it. The more elaborate, the more old-fashioned, the more mystical the key, the more imagination you have, and the more you like to get involved in those sort of things. All right. Chris, we're almost out of time, but thank you very much for taking part.
Pleasure.
Hope you found it a bit of fun.